Welcome to Around the Ozarks, a public affairs program brought to you by your local Midwest Family Broadcasting Station. Here's your host, Scott Meyer.
Good morning and welcome back to another week's version of Around the Ozarks. My name is Scott Meyer. I'm the general manager here at Midwest Family Broadcasting. My guest this morning is Andrea Seitz, who's the executive director of the Ozark Chamber of Commerce. And good morning, Andrea.
Good morning, Scott. How are you? I'm
excellent, thank you. I may have lied a little bit. I've got a little stomach thing going on. I don't know what that's about, but hopefully we'll get past that. The Chambers of Commerce have really gotten a lot of airplay lately because of all the things going on the political side. We're not going to go there.
Yeah.
What I really want to talk about is when you sit next to a community of the size of Springfield, and you've got a much smaller chamber, obviously, a much smaller group of businessmen and women in that area, what are the biggest hurdles you face as the director of the chamber there?
I would say one of our biggest challenges now is keeping up with our growth. Right now, Christian County is actually the fastest growing county in the state of Missouri, and Ozark specifically is the 15th fastest growing city in our state. And so with that, you know, over the last 15, 20 years or so, we have grown from a population of, 4,000 or 5,000 people, and now we're knocking on 20's door. And a lot of that are transient residents almost, and those that maybe work elsewhere but come home to Ozark. And we have a very large core of service industry businesses and retailers and merchants, and that's the core of what we support. And because most of our residents, are those community members, we're very active and engaged with our school, with the city as well, to really have a well-rounded presence, when it comes to supporting Ozark and our community.
Some chambers are considered PACs that work primarily with local and state governments, even some federal government. But I don't think your chamber is quite like that. Isn't it more of a business chamber?
Yes, more of a business. We do support the city of Ozark specifically through economic development efforts, and we partner with the Springfield Chamber and their economic development arm through their program that they call SREP, which is the Regional Economic Partnership that they offer. And so we do more on the development side of things, and from an advocacy standpoint, we kind of take the approach of informing our members. And, if there's something that's really vital to our community, we do have a process that we can go through, but we don't want to ever do anything knee-jerk, necessarily, or do anything that would upset the core of our community. So if we go to advocate, we make sure that everyone is on the same page, taking it before our board and our general membership, so that we make sure that we have everyone's buy-in before we can really get behind an effort.
I always love to hear good stories. Now, you've only been in the position a relatively short time.
About 9 months, yeah.
9 months, so it's been a bit of a whirlwind for you.
Oh, man.
But can you give our audience a taste of how the Chamber can work for a new business or a business that wants to get some legs and get started in the Ozark community?
Mm-hmm. Well, and Ozark specifically, we kind of took that helping new businesses to the next level. So through just normal chamber membership, we are doing a lot to increase our exposure for our members through our social media, and that will be happening in coming months. And, putting it out on our website, we do an e-newsletter so that they can get their events and promotions out. And that goes out to about 1,000 people every week. So we try to provide those opportunities so that they can tell their story. Mm-hmm. But a couple of years ago, the chamber board, and again, that was before I came, but the board there at the Ozark Chamber really saw a need for kind of an incubator. Here in Springfield, they're pretty familiar with the E-Factory, which supports, primarily technology and very specific sectors. Mm-hmm. We actually opened what's called the Carl G. Hefner Enterprise Center. And now that that operation has grown, and so it does stand on its own. And so the staff at the chamber manage both entities, and we kind of have to wear two hats. But through the incubator, we really provide collaboration services. We try to help mentor startup businesses. And we have a lot of long-range goals, and hopefully growing and hopefully one day being able to provide a microloan program so that startup businesses can get the funding that they need and stand on a little steadier legs than they would if they were doing it on their own.
So I'm somebody sitting in my basement in my socks and working on the next great phone app. Mm-hmm. What would I do? How do I get a hold of the chamber to find out if there's an opportunity for me to get going with that business, if that's how it might work?
Absolutely. Well, with our staff, we do a lot on a small staff, and we have a manager of membership, and he also covers small business development specifically. And so if you reach out to our office, we're going to walk through the process on where you're at. Do you have a business plan? We kind of like to know the foundation that you're at, and then look at goals and where we can help take you. So we do have some office spaces available. We partner with clients not only in-house, and we call those our resident clients. We have about 9 businesses in-house and 11 office spaces. So I do have some room right now if you're sitting in your basement. But we partner with those folks in-house, and then we also do collaboration coffee events that are kind of a round table, bringing those that need experience with those that have it, through the chamber and those connections that we have in the community. And then we also do small business workshops, everything from Facebook for your business, how to improve your Google profiles, to wage and labor laws and healthcare reform for small businesses, and, preparing for your taxes and end of the year. So we really try to provide a dynamic set of services for those individuals.
Excellent. My guest this morning is the executive director at the Ozark Chamber of Commerce. Her name is Andrea Seitz. She's a very pleasant young lady, and we're exploring different opportunities for any of you that live in Christian County. I would guess it's primarily or only for Christian County.
Primarily,
residents.
Yeah.
Okay. Having 2 offices left over, does that, in fact, if I did come to the chamber and I was to take one of those offices as at least a place to physically work on my project, do you also expose me to venture capitalists? Yes, we can.
We try to work with different networks, and a lot of those organizations are members. And, that's kind of the plan, is we like for you to come and move into the Enterprise Center and then get networked through all of the social opportunities that we provide as well, so that you can grow your network to help grow your business. And, along with the physical space itself, we are also offering a virtual office option. Nowadays, a lot of people work from home, but you don't necessarily want Google to pull up your driveway, if people were to look it up. And so we offer basic and small packages to where you can have your mail sent there. We can process that, answer your phones to add a level of legitimacy to your business without the capital expense that's, that you incur when you open up a brick and mortar.
Now, to do this, do they have to first be a chamber member, or does that come later?
That comes later. We understand that there are a lot of startup costs, especially, for those that are just getting off the ground. We also try to help those that are reaching their next milestone. We have some businesses that have been in operation 10 or 15 years, but they've been a one-man show. Now they're hiring staff for the first time, or they're just now moving out of their house. And so we also are there to support those that are reaching that next level and hitting, that next goal. And we just try to see how far we can push the ceiling.
Well, it's exciting.
Yeah.
It's having been an entrepreneur myself a couple of years ago,
right.
It's not easy.
No.
And having a place to go is a big help. It's a big help, even when we only had 3 people. So it's very helpful. Be Ozark Bucks.
Yeah.
Well, that obviously is important to you. Why don't you tell our audience about Be Ozark Bucks? What's that?
A new program that we are launching. And so, being, some don't like the term, but for lack of a better one, a bedroom community. 75 to 80% of our residents travel outside of Ozark and Christian County every day to work, whether that's north to Greene County or south to Taney. So with that, as I mentioned earlier, the big core of our membership is service, those retailers, those merchants that provide things for those people when they come home. So because of that, we live and die off of our sales tax, and just trying to find a way to create more awareness around shopping local. This is an interactive program. So Be Ozark Bucks are gift certificates that individuals will be able to purchase through the Ozark Chamber website. Small denominations, $5, $10, $20, $25. And you can purchase $100 and $25 if you want to. There's not really a limit. But that one gift certificate, they can then use at any participating merchant in Ozark. And so they could take that to, let's say Excel Dental or the Vision Clinic, or they could take it to Hazel's Flowers or K&S Automotive. It gives them that freedom of choice, just like a Visa gift card would, only they know that money is staying in Ozark. It's a staggering statistic, but 70% of the dollars that are spent local or at small businesses stay in your community. 70%. So being able to track that and have, those consumers engaging with the merchants is something that I'm really excited about it. And we're just launching it. So this will be something that, we'll see grow over the next several years.
Is there a possibility, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but asking anybody to do anything these days is tough to get, and you have children, right? I'm sure it's difficult just to get your kids to do anything, but they physically go to the website, they print the coupon. Yep. Is there a possibility, you said you brought on a new person to help you with your digital side of the chamber. Is there a possibility at some point to maybe being able to make that a digital effort so they could just simply bring it up on their phone on an app? Or
Yes, that's certainly my goal. The tool in itself is very new. Something this interactive and this advanced really hasn't been around before. So as we are looking to grow those efforts, so is the company that we've partnered with. And they're actually out of Michigan, I believe.
Yeah, I think I read that. They're out of Michigan.
Yeah, and the only ones. They're kind of the market leader in this type of product right now. Okay. So yes, trying to make it more user-friendly moving forward. And really one of our big strategies to get that out and about, being service-oriented, most of our merchants do some type of client recognition. When your business is dependent off of your friends, because we all know people buy from their friends, you want to keep them coming back. So a lot of those folks will do, a thank you for coming in, $10 Lowe's card or what have you. Now they can do $10 and be Ozark bucks.
Okay. Well, I love the idea, the concept.
Thank you.
It'll be exciting when it gets to be as big as it probably can be. My guest this morning is the executive director of the Ozark Chamber of Commerce, Andrea Seitz. And Andrea, we spent a lot of time talking about the chamber. Why don't we just spend a little time talking about you? You're a local gal, right?
Yeah. Fairly local. I am from Missouri originally, a little farther north. I am actually the 7th generation to grow up on my family farm just north of Rolla in a little bitty town called Vichy. And from there, I've been in Southwest Missouri for about the last 8 years. Came down to College of the Ozarks, and that's what brought me down here. And married, not necessarily my high school sweetheart, but I met him actually my senior year. And my husband was in the military, and so been through deployment. Actually, this week, since it's Sunday, this week will be my 9-year anniversary, and have one little boy. And I'm a planner, so I had to have the house and the dog. And if I didn't kill the dog, then I could have a baby. So I've got about a 4-year-old chocolate lab, and I'll have a 3-year-old son in about 2 weeks.
Excellent. So. What's his name? What's your son's name?
My son's name is Ezra. Yeah.
Ezra. Uh-huh. Excellent. Okay.
Yep. Funny story behind his name.
Well, let's hear it.
So my husband races motocross. And a long time ago, he used to race when he was still in high school, and he's recently re-entered it. But when we first met, he was not the settle down, have kids kind of a guy. And after we first met, he said, I think if I ever have a son, I want to name him Ezra, because there was a pro motocross racer that raced. And, everyone asked me, oh, is that because it's in the Bible? It's like, oh, yes, that's exactly it. When in fact, it's because it was some pro dirt bike racer.
I'm not sure. I think I'd have to go back and look at the Bible. I think there was an Ezra that raced motocross. But
yeah, absolutely.
Not sure which book that was in, but I think we could find it. So you went to school at the College of the Ozarks.
I did.
And then between the chamber job and the college graduation, what did you do?
For the last 8 years, I was in hospitality, and that career kind of found me. When I was growing up in the Rolla area, our biggest hotel was a Holiday Inn Express or a Baymont Inn, and tourism wasn't something that was ever really taught or understood in that area. So after I moved down to College of the Ozarks, obviously Branson is a pretty different demographic, and hospitality is really the only industry they have. And so I mentioned my husband was in the military. About the beginning of my freshman year, second semester, somewhere in there, he enlisted. And so after that summer, we come back, and we had 6 weeks notice before he was supposed to be getting deployed. So we pushed our wedding up, planned it in 2 weeks, got married. Wow. And 3 days after our wedding, they said, "We're just kidding. You get to stay." So obviously I needed a job. And Big Cedar Lodge was my first job in hospitality. Again, completely unaware of what I was doing at the time. And I started in their boutique part-time when I was going through college. And while I was with Big Cedar, I did that about 4 years and did everything from, the boutique to the stables, marina activities, you name it. And after graduation, I moved into their sales. And then I had the opportunity to work for the Chateau on the Lake, and that was my home for the last 4 years or so. And loved my position there. At the time, we had regional markets, and growing up on a farm, I loved the Southern folks, and so I worked with people from Arkansas, Oklahoma, Texas, you name it, and made some lifelong friends. But yeah, hospitality gave me a great home and a character and a service that I don't think you can really find in many industries, and I'm definitely grateful for that.
So it's been 9 months as the head of the chamber in the Ozarks. Tell me a little bit about that. It's been a whirlwind. Did this prepare you for that? Do you feel that you have learned some things that you've been there that maybe you wish you would have known, 5 or 6 years ago? Or is it kind of fit like a pair of slippers?
Yeah, all of the above. There isn't a manual for chamber world, and it's kind of a cliche in this industry that once you've seen or gotten familiar with one chamber, you've seen one chamber. Because every community is different. And therefore, what you do as a chamber has to depend and support, those folks that are in your community specifically. So probably the biggest thing has been getting used to a board. And I've got a wonderful, very supportive board. And they joke with me because coming from the corporate world and coming from corporate sales, I only have one speed, and that is full steam ahead. And so my board gives me a hard time. I told them I'm not quite used to my productivity being dependent on someone else's opinion, but we're moving on, and they are extremely supportive. So I can't wait to see what's left or what's ahead, really, for the Ozark Chamber.
Yeah, well, I know that feeling. I came from the corporate world and work with a board now as well. And my favorite phrase is it's not a 100-yard dash anymore, it's a marathon.
Amen to that.
And a good way, in a good way. So
absolutely.
it's, we still have high achievement goals, but we just don't feel like we have to get there every 5 minutes. That's very different.
Yeah.
Very different. Anything we didn't cover that you want to throw out there before we go?
Oh, Be Ozark, our hashtag, really quick. That was launched right before I came on board. And, it's really just the idea of community pride. Be adventurous, be curious, be kind, be courteous, all of those things that really embody what you think of, when you look at a community where Mayberry meets Main Street and all that implies, So anytime that we're out as a chamber or we encourage our members or those residents, if they're out and doing something that they're proud of, or that just makes them excited about where they live, we ask them to hashtag it Be Ozark. And
that's great.
That's kind of what we're living by.
Before we run, can you leave us with the web address quickly so we can get those coupons?
Absolutely. It's very easy. www.ozarkchamber.com.
And that's it.
That's it. Yep.
I want to thank my guest this morning, Andrea Seitz, the executive director, fairly new executive director of the Ozark Chamber of Commerce. Andrea, thanks for coming in this morning.
Thank you, Scott. I enjoyed it.
Thank you. We'll be back in just a moment with our next guest. We're going to take a look at the United Way right here in Springfield.
Safety, care, love. These are things every child requires and deserves. But too many families are in crisis, and too many children are being denied these rights. CASA is committed to changing the lives of every abused and neglected child in Southwest Missouri, but they can't do it alone. You can help them serve more children who are in need by becoming a sponsor for the Voices for Children Gala, September 15th at the Ramada Oasis. For more information, visit CASASWMO.org.
Welcome back to the second half of Around the Ozarks. My name is Scott Meyer. I'm the general manager here at the Midwest Family Group of radio stations. And my guest for this segment is Nigel Holderby. Did I get that right?
You got it.
I did. Okay. Well, in this business, it's tough sometimes because it looks like Nigel or Nigel.
Yes, I'm not a British man though.
But it's Nigel. Okay. Well, we won't have to go too far into that. But Nigel is the head of communications for the Springfield United Way, or the United Way of the Ozarks.
Yes,
actually.
That's correct.
And does that encompass how many counties?
We cover 14 counties. That's our footprint.
Okay. And you're a graduate of Drury.
I am.
Okay.
Yes.
Tell me about that experience a little bit.
Wow. It's one of those situations where going through life, my undergraduate was from MSU, so I have both of those schools in my background. But whenever I became a grown-up and I got involved in the communication world, I was working for another nonprofit agency, and I decided that I really needed a piece of paper to say that I was a professional, that I could do the job that I was really doing at that organization. And so I decided to enroll in the master's communication program at Drury and did an accelerated 11 months for that program. It was intense and amazing. And now I'm very excited, actually, really excited about teaching this semester back at Drury, doing some teaching.
Yeah, I see you're doing some adjunct work. Is it all in public relations? Or?
It is. It's the public relations and corporate writing. And we're excited to kick off the semester and really, show the kids and the students, the non-traditional students and the younger kids, really how this works from the real life perspective. So I love that I'm working in this field and I get to do this job every day. And now I get to also share that with others.
Well, you're disproving those that teach don't by doing.
Right.
And actually, that's always been I don't have my master's, but I've always wanted to adjunct. I guess I can only do it at a community college, is what I've been told.
Well, it's never too late. I mean, look at me. I was,
it's too late. Trust me.
A little older than most students. So
I've always thought about it, but that's a whole other segment and another story, and nobody out there cares. So I'll leave it at that. Nigel, you've got a Day of Caring initiative that the United Way has. Before we get into that, can you bring the listeners up a little bit on just exactly what is United Way's function?
Okay, fantastic. I'm so glad that you asked that because it's something that I'm very passionate about. United Way really is an agency that what we're doing is fighting for health, education, and financial stability for every person in every community. And that's looking at all of the aspects of what makes a community healthy whenever you think about the health of a person and their education and how all of those pieces tie into a very overwhelming problem, which is poverty. So we really look at the aspects of all three of those areas, and we're really focused on working with partners and programs that are really identifying best practices and ways to approach that in a way that is giving success to a problem and really looking at long-term success.
How many local agencies do you help fund?
We have partnerships with 23 different agencies and more than 40 programs within those agencies.
How do you keep from having a plethora of agencies that kind of do the same thing, but maybe don't do exactly the same thing? How do you figure out who those 23 are?
Well, we have a really amazing program. It's a community investment program, and it's really volunteers from the community, from all of the different businesses and community volunteers that are just people who live here and work here who really are involved in helping us make those decisions. And so we've looked at, as an agency, as a United Way, we've really looked at how all of these different partnerships work together to address this bigger picture. So without this program, maybe this doesn't happen. So when you think about programs that feed people, if people are hungry, if kids are hungry and you send them to school, those education pieces, they're not going to learn as well. So we really identify through that community investment process the programs that are really impacting the community the best and collectively that do a partnership, that work together. So we work with volunteers to identify those pieces. And every year our agencies go through a process and they come. We have the panels that really look at what they're doing. What is the program outcome? So it's not just, oh, hey, we're doing good work in the community. We're really putting numbers and statistics to say this is the impact, and we're really able to see that. So we're really proud of those volunteers who donate their time and really do all of those pieces of investigative work and really see how it fits together. Now, you mentioned something else about duplication, and I just want to take another approach on that. When you think about the different programs that we are partnering with, we look at that access. So maybe there are some programs that work with kids, and we have several agencies that work with kids for after-school programs and things of that nature. But we really look at are they able to serve all of the kids in the community with just one organization? So we really like to think how all of this partnership works together, but we really recognize that not one agency can do all things. And that's why United Way works.
Yeah, I think sometimes United Way is like Ronald McDonald House. People think they know what it is or what it does, but until you really get into the nuts and bolts of it, you're not really sure.
Right.
Sometimes they take on their own life, and it's good to educate. So I appreciate that. As an educator, it's good to educate. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
We're together this morning primarily to talk about a Day of Caring. What is that initiative?
Well, the Day of Caring is our United Way of the Ozarks annual event. It's the largest volunteer day in the Springfield area and surrounding areas. So we can say that because we count these volunteers as they sign up, and we had more than 2,000 volunteers participate this year.
When you look at that and you compare Springfield to another city, how does that compare? Are we ahead of the game a little bit, behind the game a little bit? Are we right where everybody is?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I don't know that I've ever looked at the numbers for really where other cities are with events of that type. But what I can say is working on the ground with the volunteers and being involved with that process of recruiting the volunteers and then assigning projects and being really engaged with people, I can say that our community is by far one of the most amazing and giving communities that I've ever had the opportunity to be in.
Nigel Holderby is my guest this morning, and she's the Vice President of Communications at the United Way of the Ozarks. Probably one of the biggest challenges of something like the United Way is volunteerism. How do you locate the volunteers?
Well, again, we look to partnerships. So we have some incredible partnerships with the companies that do what we have our employee campaign that comes up every year, and we're kicking that off with our Day of Caring. We kicked off to really set a goal to raise $3 million this year. Those employee campaigns, those companies that are involved with us at that monetary level, they really want to be involved. They want their employees to have the opportunity to give their time as well as their treasure. So with the Day of Caring, we really recruit those volunteers from those corporate, connections that we've got. So we're really fortunate that we have so many different businesses in our community that they give their opportunities to the employees to connect with us.
Nigel, I always ask any of my guests to share a good story, and I would think you probably have a good story quickly that you can share about some of the work that you've done or kids that you've met or
Well,
helped.
I want to say there are so many incredible stories. There are so many times whenever just being able to connect with a person. I'll just briefly, we at the United Way, we're down on Jefferson, fairly close to downtown, right there where people sometimes just walk in. And I think one of the most memorable pieces for me was sitting there in my office and having someone from our community who came in, a homeless man, and he wasn't sure where he should go, but he saw United Way and he saw that on the building, and he knew that that was a place of refuge that he could come to find information. And I was able to sit with him and talk with him and give him some resources and provide information. And really, he just looked at me and said, I just didn't even know that there were places like this that existed. So he thanked me for that connection.
That's a good story. Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. People want to get in contact with your office or certainly with the United Way, either for the event or just to participate with United Way. What do they need to do?
Well, you can visit us online, uwozarks.com, or give us a call. So any of that information, just visit our website. We're also on Facebook and Twitter. We're out there on the social spaces. So connect with us, and we'd love to engage with you in any way that you're wanting to engage.
Well, excellent. Thank you for taking time out.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm so happy to have you here this morning. United Way is, you said $3 million was the target this year. Folks, that's a lot of money, and it takes a great deal of effort to raise that kind of money. So
it takes all of us working together and really living united.
Yeah, well, there you got it in.
Yeah.
You got the living united in. I want to thank you for being with us this morning and getting a sense of my two guests, both Andrea Seitz from the Ozark Chamber and also Nigel Holderby with United Way right here in the Ozark area. Again, my name is Scott Meyer. Thanks for listening to Around the Ozarks this morning. You can hear this morning's show and any of our shows by simply going to www.mwfmarketing.fm. Have a great morning.
Thank you for joining us for Around the Ozarks, a public affairs program brought to you by your local Midwest Family Broadcasting Station. Listen again next Sunday morning at 6 a.m. Find this and all other segments of Around the Ozarks at mwfmarketing.fm.